Oklahoma State and Colorado in Boulder, noon Eastern time on ABC. So the playoff implications in this game really are, okay, Colorado's got to win this game and also get some help in order to get to the Big 12 title game and ultimately get to the college football playoff as well, because they lost to Kansas and they no longer control their own destiny in the Big 12 race and really by proxy the college football playoff race either. So let's look at what Colorado needs to do in order to get to that Big 12 title game. So really, these are the scenarios for them right here, the path. Because I think the important thing to do here for these Big 12 games, we're previewing all 4 of the big ones this week, is just map out how these teams can make it to the Big 12 title games. Ironically, Dawn, nobody controls their own destiny. Not even Arizona State. I mean, even though they pretty much are winning in, there is a scenario where Arizona State wins and still misses the Big 12 title game. But for Colorado, at least, they got to win and BYU to lose and Texas Tech to win. Or win, Arizona State loses and Iowa State loses, or win, Iowa State loses and BYU loses, or win, Arizona State loses and BYU loses. So really, it's 2 of Arizona State, BYU, and Iowa State to lose, or win, BYU loses and Texas Tech wins. Those are the scenarios for Colorado to get into the Big 12 title game. Very complicated, but we wanted to map out every scenario to kind of make it a little more digestible heading into the final weekend.
Yeah, and I think what I like for Colorado here is that they are playing on Friday before everybody else, so they don't need to sit around and scoreboard watch during the game, or I don't think we need to sit here and question their motivation, right? Win the ball game, see what happens on Saturday. If they're in the Big 12 title game, so be it, then they're playing next week. And if they're not, then, well, they lost control of their own destiny last week, right? And they can kind of pin that on themselves for losing to Kansas. But either way, I mean, it's been a really good run. Whether they finish 9-3, regardless of the Big 12 title game, they've had a really good season.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If they get this win anyway, going from 1 win to 4 wins last year to 9 this year, you can see what type of program that Coach Prime is building there. The Big 12 title game would obviously be the goal, but it's out of their own hands now. The only thing they can do is take care of their own business on Friday and then just wait and see what happens the next day.
So you have the Colorado offense against Oklahoma State in this one. What should we be looking out for when they have the ball?
I just wonder, we have seen, obviously Colorado leans towards the passing game, as anybody would with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and all the weapons that they have, right? But I wouldn't mind seeing this being a game, and there have been a few this year where they have a little bit of balance, okay? When Colorado has rushed for at least 100 yards, which is not very many, you know, when you look at the scale of other teams running the ball, and some of them go for 300 a game, right? When they run for 100 yards, they're 5-0 and they score 36 points a game. Just a little bit of balance, right? When they're under that, they're 3-3 and they only score right around 28 points a game. And they've scored 28 or less in all 3 of their losses, in part because they can't run the ball. It's not the only reason they've lost, but they have a hard time sometimes just controlling games and possessing the ball because they're so one-dimensional. Oklahoma State comes into this game dead last in the Power 4 in run defense grade. They have missed the most tackles in run defense, and they allow 5.8 yards per design carry. Again, I'm not suggesting that Colorado should come out in this game and run 60% of the time, but the times where they always have a good offense. Even last week, their offense looked good. They just didn't have the football. The times of the games they've had balance, the Arizona game, a little bit in the UCF game, right? They've been absolutely unstoppable. And if you go, okay, if this team can be two-dimensional with this quarterback and these weapons, Oklahoma State's not stopping them either because they haven't stopped anybody all season. Texas Tech dropped 56 on them last week. So I just wonder if, for one last ride here, and I know it might be a game where they try to inflate the numbers for Travis Hunter a little bit in the Heisman race and they go out there slinging it. It could be this crew's last game together with all the guys going to the Shrine Bowl and going into the draft and all that stuff. They still have to win the football game, though. And I think the best way for them to do that is have just a little bit of balance. Again, I'm not saying you have to go out here and run for 250, 300 yards. But 100 yards seems to be the cutoff, just enough to support the passing game and add a little bit of a wrinkle, maybe a little bit of play action. And Oklahoma State's as vulnerable to that as any team in the country.
Yeah, and Deion Sanders did say today that Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter will be playing in the bowl game. So
see, that gets interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, so this probably won't be the last time we see Colorado, those two play for Colorado this year, especially if they don't make the Big 12 title game. But my matchup to watch is really about the run game as well. It's about how does Colorado's run D respond against Ollie Gordon. So really, we talked about it all year, Dawn, and every single preview we've done for Colorado. It seems like we've done almost every preview for Colorado this year for every single game. But one of the biggest reasons that they've had success defensively is their massive improvement in run defense. They're right now 41st in run defense grade. They were 122nd last year. They were one of the worst run defenses in college football. And it looked like that this past Saturday. They got destroyed by Kansas's run game, especially by Devin Neal. The Jayhawks had 332 rushing yards, averaging nearly 6 yards per carry. It was the most rushing yards that any Colorado team is allowed under Deion Sanders, even worse than anything from last year when they had one of the worst in the country last year. So it was really bad last week. Now you go this week against Ollie Gordon, who won the Doak Walker Award last year as the best running back in college football. He's coming off, he's really on a really extremely disappointing season, but it is worth mentioning he's coming off his two best rushing performances. He had 121 yards against TCU. He had 156 yards against Texas Tech. So with a true freshman quarterback, too, that Oklahoma State has under center, the Cowboys are probably going to have to rely on Ollie Gordon a lot in this game, and he is coming off some two really good performances as well. Colorado's run defense is going to need to play a lot better against a dangerous running back in Ollie Gordon. He's not the best in the country like it was last year, but still a dangerous running back nonetheless.
Yeah, we know what he's capable of, right? I think that's the idea, and that if you don't play sound in your gaps, and we've seen with Colorado, the two Big 12 games that they've lost, and that's essentially cost them the driver's seat in this race, is the two games that the run defense let them down, right? DJ Giddens for Kansas State and Devin Neal for Kansas, and that's what it was going to be. I've been telling you all season, run defense is going to be a massive key in this Big 12 title race, and it's still going to be. You're gonna hear me say it for several of these games, probably all of them actually. I think is that if you can stop the run in the Big 12, you have a shot to win a Big 12 title. And Colorado, if they do that, can give themselves at least an outside chance to still get there. And again, see what happens on Saturday with the other three games.
So Dawn, and what could be the final game we preview of the Colorado Buffaloes this year, who will win in this Black Friday game?
I like them to bounce back in front of the home crowd. I've got Colorado 42-24, and I just think they're a better football team than Oklahoma State. Yep. Look, there's nothing wrong with their offense. I know they only scored 21 last week, but that's just because they didn't have the football. There's nothing wrong with their offense. Oklahoma State's defense, I should say, has struggled all season. The defense, I think, will look better because, again, it's a more straight-up running game. We've talked about this, too, with teams with a lot of the option looks. Oklahoma State's not really one of those teams. They're more of just a more conventional running game. With Ollie Gordon, they're not a great run-blocking team, as you mentioned last year, and that's kind of carried over this year. So I think Oklahoma State could put up some points. The receivers have been really good. You talk about guys like Stribling and Presley who have been good on the outside. And if Gordon's going to get the momentum rolling a little bit here, you still have to be aware of him, right? He's got the speed to score from anywhere on the field. We saw it all year last year. We've seen it recently, but I like Colorado. Give me the Buffaloes 42-24.
I have Colorado also scoring 42 points. I have Oklahoma State scoring 21 points in this game. I think Shedeur Sanders against a really struggling Oklahoma State defense is a big game, and I think Colorado bounces back from its loss to Kansas. So they win this game, and obviously they turn their attention to Saturday and hope some chaos happens in the Big 12 that would send Colorado to the Big 12 title game. But Dawn, I just want to, real quick before we move on to the next game, I just want to thank the Colorado faithful out there, honestly, because if this is the final Colorado game that we do this year, I just want to thank them, dude. It's been unreal what that fan base has done for our show. You know, they've been a big part of us kind of smashing any expectation that we had for our show this year. So a lot of other fan bases have been a big part of that as well. I'm not taking away from them, but Colorado, every single video we put on Colorado seems to do very well, and the comment section is always amazing looking at with all the Colorado fans. So just want to shout them out too because they've been amazing for our show this year.
It's certainly been a fun season to cover them with everything, and it's going to be a fun draft to cover this.
Oh yeah, we're not done with Colorado content this year. No, absolutely not.
And now they got themselves a 5-star true freshman quarterback coming next year. That momentum, Deion's building the momentum there. I think I personally I have a feeling he's staying. I know there's a lot of NFL talk, but I'm with you. I think he's staying. I think it's going to continue to be fun going into the
Julian Lewis does not go to Colorado unless he knows Deion Sanders is staying.
I would think so, yeah.
So I think that he's definitely staying, honestly. So yeah, shout out to them. And yes, we are not done because once we turn our attention to the NFL draft, you're talking Travis Hunter, maybe number 1 overall pick, and Shedeur Sanders, maybe the number 1 quarterback in the NFL draft too, maybe 2 top 5 picks at Colorado. So we'll be talking about those two and a lot of other guys a lot more as the NFL draft process wears on. But shout out to Colorado faithful for what they've done for us all year. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.